Don't be silly, Whisper. Of course, you can come to the park too. You're my best friend.
But what if the other children stare? They might think you're a little strange talking to thin air.
They won't see you. You're my special secret.
Jamie knew Whisper could do amazing things, like make toys disappear and reappear in the most unexpected places. One time, Whisper even made it rain chocolate biscuits during lunch break. It was their little secret.
All right, Jamie, let's go to the park. But if you see anyone staring, blame it on the biscuits.
Jamie laughed, the sound echoing in his small bedroom. He couldn't wait to tell Whisper all about the swings and the slide. They were going to have the best day ever. Later that evening, Jamie's mom, Sarah, watched him build a towering block castle in the living room. She smiled, her heart warming at his quiet concentration. It was moments like these that made her forget her worries.
Who are you building that for, love?
Whisper, it's his castle and I'm making him a dragon to guard it.
Sarah's smile faltered.
Jamie, darling, Mummy has told you before, Whisper isn't real. He's your imaginary friend.
But Mom, Whisper is real. He's right here beside me.
Sarah sighed, her heart aching for her son. She knew Jamie loved Whisper, but she worried about him. He was getting older, and she didn't want him to be teased or thought of as different. She decided to try a different approach.
Maybe Whisper is just a little shy around grown-ups. Why don't you tell Mummy all about him instead?
Jamie brightened up, happy to share stories about his best friend. Sarah listened patiently, her concern growing with every fantastical tale. As the weeks passed, strange things started happening around the house. Toys would move on their own, their soft melodies echoing through the quiet rooms. Lights flickered, plunging the house into momentary darkness. And Sarah would often hear Jamie's muffled laughter followed by a soft, tinkling chime, like the sound of tiny bells. One evening, while preparing dinner, Sarah felt a cold draft whisper past her, raising goosebumps on her arms. She turned quickly, but there was nothing there, just a fleeting shadow that danced at the edge of her vision. That night, Sarah lay awake long after Jamie had fallen asleep. The events of the past few weeks replayed in her mind. She couldn't shake off the feeling that something wasn't quite right. The rational part of her dismissed it as an overactive imagination, but deep down, a seed of unease had been planted. Could Whisper be more than just Jamie's imaginary friend? The thought sent a shiver down her spine. She pulled the covers tighter around her, trying to ignore the creeping feeling of dread that settled in the pit of her stomach.
I'm going to find the best hiding spot ever.
Jamie, no, you know you're not allowed up there.
But it was too late. Jamie had already flung open the creaking door and disappeared inside. Sarah hesitated at the foot of the stairs, her heart pounding. The attic was dark and musty, filled with shadowy shapes and the remnants of forgotten memories. She took a deep breath and cautiously followed Jamie inside.
Jamie, where are you?
Her voice echoed through the vast, dusty space.
Up here, Mom.
Jamie's muffled voice floated down from the far end of the attic. Sarah followed his voice, her hand trailing along the cold, cobwebbed wall. As she rounded a towering stack of old suitcases, she froze. There, in the middle of the room, stood Jamie, his back to her, and in front of him, shimmering faintly in the dim light, was a figure she could no longer deny. It was Whisper. Whisper wasn't what Sarah had expected. He wasn't a small, cuddly creature or a mischievous imp. He was tall and slender, his form shifting like smoke caught in a gentle breeze. His eyes glowed with an otherworldly light, and his voice, no longer the soft chime Sarah had heard through Jamie's laughter, was deep and resonant, sending shivers down her spine. Sarah watched in stunned silence as Whisper turned his head slightly, his glowing eyes meeting hers. A cold dread washed over her, chilling her to the bone. This was not a figment of Jamie's imagination. This was something else entirely, something ancient and powerful, and it was watching her.
You see me.
Whisper stated, his voice a low rumble that seemed to vibrate in Sarah's chest. It wasn't a question, but a statement of fact. Sarah opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Fear had her firmly in its grip, squeezing the air from her lungs. Her legs felt like lead, her body rooted to the spot. Whisper turned his attention back to Jamie, a faint smile playing on his lips.
Don't worry, little one.
He reached out a hand, his long, slender fingers brushing against Jamie's cheek. Sarah watched in horror, her voice trapped in her throat, as Whisper leaned closer to Jamie, his words a low whisper that she couldn't quite make out.